You know those dark corners in your mind? The places you try really hard not to look? Well, what if one day, something from one of those shadows looked back at you?
So let me ask you this. What happens when your darkest thoughts actually take shape? What if one little secret, one tiny sin, just a single moment of indulgence, was all it took to open the door and invite something truly awful into your life? Something that has no intention of ever leaving.
Okay, so today, we're not just reviewing a book. No, we're going on a journey. We're going to explore a very particular kind of fear. Together, we are opening the door to D.K. Broster's classic, Couching at the Door, and we're going to walk right into the shadows it casts.
All right, let's open up the file on this one. The book is Couching at the Door by D.K. Broster. We're talking psychological horror, supernatural fiction. And get this, it was published in 1942. I mean, the whole world was engulfed in darkness, but the kind of horror Broster was writing about, it's something much more personal, something ancient and deep inside all of us. It's an absolute masterclass.
So, you might be wondering, is this for me? Well, let me put it this way. If you're someone who prefers that slow, creeping kind of horror, the kind that gets under your skin instead of just jumping out at you, then yes, this is for you. This is for anyone who gets that the scariest monster of all is the one whispering from inside your own head. All right, let's talk about the price of indulgence, because that's really what's at the heart of this. So how does this fear even start? Well, in Broster's world, nothing is ever random. Every single haunting, every ghost, every terrifying thing, it all has a starting point. It's always born from a moment of human weakness, some kind of moral slip-up. And that's the main idea, right there. The horrors in these stories, they aren't just monsters that show up out of nowhere. No, they're summoned. They are the physical manifestation of a secret sin. It's like your guilt literally grows legs and starts crawling around your house. And our main example of this is this decadent poet, a guy named Augustine Marchant. After what's described as an abominable night in Prague, he realizes, oh boy, he's brought something back with him.
And just listen to this guy. He says, "My dear fellow, art has nothing whatever to do with what is called morality. Happily, we know that at last." You can just hear the smugness, can't you? He genuinely believes he's above it all, that because he's an artist, he doesn't have to worry about right and wrong. And that one idea, that single rotten belief, that's the seed. That's where his own personal hell starts to grow.
So, when evil takes form, at first, it's nothing. He sees a little piece of dark fluff on his library floor. Then, it looks kind of like a hairy, legless spider. But soon, this thing, this manifestation of a secret, it starts to take a much more definite and way more terrifying shape. It actually starts to creep out from the shadows.
Just imagine this. Still, very slowly, the thing continued to creep out from under the valance, waving that eyeless, tapering end to and fro. So get this. The memory of a simple fur boa, something a woman wore during his transgression, has now become a living, breathing thing in his house. This spineless, furry, snake-like creature is literally pouring out from under his bed. No thank you.
And this points to a really important rule we learned from another story in the collection. It's almost like a piece of folklore, a warning. It says, "But as long as no one don't never ask it in." See, these things, they wait. They'll hang around, maybe they'll knock, but they have to be invited. And that invitation doesn't have to be spoken. Sometimes an act of corruption, like Marchant's, is all it takes to swing that door wide open.
But it's not always something small and slithery. In another one of these stories, the horror is something massive, something ancient, an impossible, monstrous cave bear, its whole unbelievable dark bulk defined by the electric light. So the scale can change, from a creeping boa to a giant bear, but the source? It's always the same. It's a darkness inside us that calls out to a darkness in the world. Okay, let's shift gears a little, because these physical monsters, they're really only half the story. The real terror in these pages, the thing that will truly mess with you, is the internal collapse. It's the haunting within, the complete breakdown of the mind. Listen to this. It's from a letter written by an artist named Lawrence Story, a guy who was corrupted by Marchant. He says, "I realized that I was also back in that room. The one was, as it were, superimposed upon the other. After his own sin, his reality literally starts to break apart. He's sitting in a cafe, but he's also back in the room where it all happened. The two places are layered on top of each other in his mind. The haunting isn't in a place anymore.
it's inside his own perception.
And then there's this chilling line describing the end for another character, Daphne. She sees her own doppelganger, a physical version of her guilt and trauma. And the two of them rush together, merging like two drops of quicksilver that are spilt upon a table. And just like that, she's gone. Completely consumed by her own shadow. It's absolutely terrifying. Because in the end, that's what it all comes down to, isn't it? Whether it's a slithering fur boa or a ghostly twin, the monster is just a mirror. The true monster is never outside.
Whew, okay. So, after dragging ourselves through all that darkness, what's the final verdict? What's the takeaway from this abyss that Broster has shown us?
Well, the final lesson is pretty stark. First, the sins of the past, yeah, they don't stay buried. They can and will come back to haunt you, literally. Second, that guilt you're suppressing, it can manifest in reality. It can become a real thing. And the biggest lesson of all, the greatest horrors are the ones born inside our own minds. You just can't run from a monster that lives in your head.
So what's my feedback? Honestly, this collection is a masterclass in crafting atmospheric dread. It doesn't need jump scares or gore. It just builds this quiet, creeping sense of wrongness that gets into your bones and just stays there. It's a feeling that's going to linger long, long after you've finished reading.
For its incredible atmosphere, for its deep, deep understanding of what truly scares us, Couching at the Door gets a very solid 8.5 out of 10. Now, if this kind of creeping psychological dread is your thing, and you're looking for what to read next, I've got a couple for you. You absolutely have to check out M.R. James's Ghost Stories of an Antiquary. It's that same kind of subtle, smart horror. And of course, you can't go wrong with Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. It's maybe the ultimate story about a mind eating itself.
And with that, we've reached the end of our descent. If you enjoyed walking through these shadows with me, make sure you follow and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. And just remember, the next time you feel that little pang of guilt about something, be very, very careful what doors you might be opening.